The arrival of the Krell Armada. Commander Thane Korvac of the Krell Empire gazed through the viewport of his warship as the third planet from its yellow star came into view. His scales rippled with satisfaction. Another primitive world to add to the Empire's vast collection. His long military career had seen 43 successful conquests, and this one promised to be simple enough for a ceremonial farewell before his well-earned rest. His tactical officer approached with the preliminary scan results. The officer's voice carried barely concealed amusement. "Commander, the species has designated itself as humanity. Their technology is embarrassingly basic. They still burn fossil fuels for energy. Their fastest vessels require chemical propulsion. We detected no orbital defense platforms, no energy barriers protecting their settlements, and their weapons operate on projectile mechanics last seen in our archives from 3 millennia ago." Thane examined the data streaming across his display. The planet held roughly 8 billion inhabitants scattered across 7 major landmasses. They maintained hundreds of separate governmental structures that frequently engaged in territorial disputes with one another. Remarkable, he thought. A species that cannot unify even its own homeworld. What is our strategic assessment? The tactical officer did not hesitate. Category 1 designation, sir. Standard harvest operation. We anticipate complete planetary submission within 60 hours. Most resistance should collapse once we demonstrate our technological superiority. The Krell fleet consisted of 300 capital ships, each one capable of reducing a city to molten glass within minutes. They had refined their conquest protocols over generations. The procedure was efficient and predictable. Display overwhelming force, eliminate a small population center as demonstration, accept surrender, establish labor quotas, move to the next world. Thane had executed this sequence so many times it felt mechanical. Initiate descent formation, he ordered. Position vessels above their major population centers. The fleet moved with practiced precision. Within the hour, massive shadows fell across the cities of Earth. New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Lagos, Sydney. Millions of humans stopped their daily activities and stared upward at the metal giants that had blotted out their sky. Thane activated the Universal Translation System and began broadcasting. His words would reach every human simultaneously in their own languages. Inhabitants of the planet you call Earth. I am Commander Thane Korvac of the Krell Empire. Your world now falls under Imperial jurisdiction. You will deactivate all military systems. You will accept Imperial authority. You will contribute your labor to Imperial interests. Those who cooperate will find the Empire fair. Those who resist will face consequences. You have 6 standard hours to communicate your acceptance. He terminated the broadcast and settled into his command chair. The waiting was always the same. First came silence as the reality settled upon them. Then desperate transmissions from their leaders seeking mercy or negotiation. Finally, capitulation. Some worlds took the full 6 hours. Most submitted within 3. Thane used the time to review resource extraction plans. This planet possessed abundant water, diverse biological specimens, and mineral deposits worth harvesting. The humans themselves would staff the mining facilities. Standard procedure. 6 hours elapsed. His communications officer looked puzzled. Sir, we are receiving responses. Good, Thane replied without looking up from his reports. Compile the surrender terms and forward them to me. There was a long pause. Sir, these are not surrender terms. Thane glanced up. What are they? I am unsure, sir. The communications officer seemed genuinely confused. We have received over 5,000 individual transmissions and more arrive each minute. Some demand we identify ourselves through proper diplomatic channels. Some request specifications of our propulsion systems for scientific analysis. Some contain what appears to be mockery. Thane stood. Mockery? Display them. The screens filled with messages. Government officials demanding explanations for unauthorized airspace violations. Military commanders requesting tactical briefings. Scientists proposing technology exchange programs. And scattered among these were stranger items. Images of humans performing obscene gestures toward his ships. Crude visual jokes about Krell physiology. One repeated musical composition about never surrendering and never deserting. A juvenile from a territory called Texas had transmitted 43 increasingly creative insults regarding Thane's ancestry. "This is irregular," Thane said quietly. "No species responds this way. They should be terrified." One transmission stood out from a facility designated the Pentagon. The message was brief and formal. "We do not acknowledge your claimed authority. State your intentions clearly or remove your vessels from our orbital space. This constitutes your sole warning." Their sole warning. To him. Thane felt something unfamiliar creeping into his thoughts. He realized it was confusion. In 2 centuries of military service, no conquered species had ever warned the Krell Empire. They simply did not understand their situation. "Very well. We will educate them." He gave the order he had given 43 times before. "Select 3 minor population centers. Demonstrate our capabilities." 3 cities vanished in columns of brilliant energy. The casualties numbered in the millions. Structures that had stood for generations became vapor. The ground itself transformed into smooth glass where neighborhoods had existed moments before. Now, Thane thought. Now they understand. Now comes the flood of surrender messages and pleas for mercy. His communications officer made a sound Thane had never heard before. "Sir, we are detecting massive mobilization across the entire planet." "What kind of mobilization?" "Military, sir. All of it. Every nation. They are activating their armed forces. Deploying their vehicles. Launching their aircraft." The officer turned to face Thane. His expression showed genuine alarm. "Sir, they have ceased their conflicts with one another. Every nation is now focused on us." "That makes no sense," Thane said. "We just destroyed 3 of their cities. They must surely realize they cannot win." "They are not attempting to surrender, sir." The officer checked his instruments again as if hoping the readings would change. "They have jointly declared this an act of war. All their nations together. Simultaneously. They call it a unified planetary response." Thane approached the viewport and stared down at Earth. Lights were activating everywhere across the dark hemisphere. Machinery was moving. Millions upon millions of humans were preparing for conflict. He had just demonstrated the power to erase their cities in seconds. Instead of accepting the inevitable, they were choosing to fight. A new transmission arrived. It came from all nations simultaneously, transmitted in every human language and the Krell tongue. The message was simple. "You have made a grave error. We are coming." Thane read those words multiple times. In 200 years across 43 conquered worlds, he had never encountered anything like this. Every other species had recognized the futility of resistance. Every other species had surrendered when faced with superior technology. These humans knew they could not win. Their weapons were primitive. Their vessels could not even leave their solar system efficiently. Victory was impossible for them. And yet they had unanimously chosen war. "What are your orders, sir?" his tactical officer asked quietly. Thane did not answer immediately. He watched the blue planet on his screen. Such a small world. Such a technologically inferior species. This should have been the simplest conquest of his career. His ceremonial farewell before retirement. Instead, for the first time in 2 centuries, Commander Thane Korvac felt uncertainty settle in his chest like cold stone. "Prepare ground forces for deployment," he finally said. "If they want war, we shall provide it. He tried to sound confident, tried to sound like the commander who had subjugated 43 worlds. But as he observed millions of humans mobilizing below, watched an entire species choose to fight when victory was impossible, watched a planet unite in anger rather than fragment in fear, one thought kept circling through his mind. What manner of species refuses to surrender when surrender is the only logical choice? The ground war begins. The first Krell ground forces descended upon a farming region in the nation of Poland. The strike force consisted of 600 soldiers equipped with armor capable of deflecting any projectile weapon humans possessed. They carried plasma rifles that could melt through steel barriers. Personal energy shields protected each warrior from conventional explosives. Their tactical computers provided real-time battlefield analysis. The commanding officer, Captain Vrel, expected minimal resistance. The settlement contained approximately 4,000 civilians. Agricultural workers, educators, merchants. Non-combatants who should flee at the sight of Krell warriors. The Polish farmers did not flee. They emerged from their dwellings carrying hunting weapons and farming implements. Elderly males who could barely walk lifted axes that had been in their families for generations. Young adults threw containers filled with burning liquid. A female of advanced age fired a projectile weapon from her window until a Krell soldier's plasma bolt ended her life. Records indicated she had lived 81 years. The Krell forces captured the settlement. Their technological advantage made victory inevitable. Their armor withstood the primitive projectiles. Their weapons cut through the humans' cover. But when the engagement concluded, Captain Vrel had lost 42 warriors. 42 Krell killed by agricultural workers with inferior weapons. Vrel composed his report to Commander Thane with trembling hands. He had participated in 17 previous planetary conquests. 600 Krell soldiers could typically secure a city containing millions. Here, 4,000 farmers had cost him 42 troops. But the casualties themselves were not what disturbed him most. The humans' behavior defied all established patterns. They did not retreat when wounded. They did not surrender when surrounded. One male with both legs destroyed by plasma fire had dragged himself 50 meters across open ground to attack a Krell warrior with a blade before expiring. Vrel ended his report with a single sentence. These beings do not behave according to any known combat psychology. Similar reports flooded in from across the planet. The Krell won every engagement. Their technology guaranteed tactical victories. But every victory extracted a terrible price. And every human casualty seemed to intensify the other's determination. In the mountains of a region called Afghanistan, Krell patrols entered valleys and vanished completely. The humans there possessed generations of experience fighting invaders in their terrain. They knew every cave system, every mountain path, every shadow where a sniper could hide. Krell squads disappeared one by one. Search teams found only their equipment scattered among the rocks. In the dense jungles of Vietnam, Krell forces discovered their advanced sensors were useless against an enemy that fought from underground tunnels. The humans constructed elaborate trap systems using sharpened wood and primitive explosives. They attacked during darkness and melted away before dawn. The Krell military language contained no term for this style of warfare. They had to create new vocabulary to describe it. In the urban centers of America, humans fought from every structure, every window, every elevated position. Snipers eliminated Krell officers from incredible distances. Improvised explosive devices destroyed Krell vehicles. The humans called them IEDs. The Krell learned to fear those three letters more than direct combat. A particularly troubling incident occurred near the ruins of Berlin. A Krell battalion numbering 2,000 had surrounded a human military unit of only 200 soldiers. The humans possessed minimal ammunition. According to every tactical doctrine the Krell understood, surrender was the humans' only rational option. The Krell battalion commander broadcast an offer. Deactivate your weapons. Accept capture. Your lives will be preserved according to Imperial protocol. The humans responded by charging directly into the Krell lines. 200 humans ran screaming toward 2,000 Krell warriors. They discharged their final projectiles. They threw their empty weapons as clubs. They engaged with knives and bare hands and teeth. The sound they produced was unlike anything in Krell experience. A roar of pure fury that seemed to vibrate the air itself. The Krell killed every single human in that charge. Not one survived. But they killed 134 Krell soldiers in the process. The Krell warriors who survived that battle were never the same afterward. They experienced nightmares. They saw human faces in their sleep. They could not forget the sound of 200 humans choosing certain death over submission. 3 weeks into the invasion, something occurred that the Krell High Command deemed impossible. Human engineers captured a damaged Krell transport vessel and systematically disassembled it. Within 5 days, they comprehended the anti-gravity propulsion system. Within 10 days, they had constructed crude functional copies. Within 15 days, human aircraft were flying with Krell anti-gravity technology integrated into their designs. Commander Thane read the report multiple times, unable to accept its accuracy. The Krell had invested 2 centuries developing anti-gravity technology through careful theoretical research and systematic testing. The humans had reverse-engineered it in 5 days by examining one damaged transport. How is this possible? He demanded of his chief scientist. We cannot fully explain it, Commander. Their scientific methodology differs fundamentally from ours. They make intuitive leaps that our protocols would never permit. They attempt approaches that should fail, yet sometimes these attempts succeed. They are supposed to be primitive. They are primitive in technology, Commander. But they are also adaptable in ways we have never encountered. They change. They learn. They evolve at a pace that defies our projections. Thane reviewed the casualty statistics. 4 weeks of combat. 15,000 Krell soldiers dead. He had projected perhaps 200 casualties for the entire operation. He had lost 15,000. And the humans were becoming more effective at killing Krell warriors with each passing day. He transmitted a request to Imperial Command requesting significant reinforcements. Additional soldiers, additional ships, additional weapons. Imperial Command responded with confusion. Why would a Category 1 species require reinforcements? What circumstances existed on Earth that required such resources? Thane struggled to formulate an explanation. How could he describe that every conquest protocol had failed? How could he convey that this species became more dangerous when damaged? How could he make them understand that these humans did not fight like soldiers following orders? They fought like something else entirely. Something the Krell had no classification for. A week later, a Krell soldier stumbled into a forward base. He was the sole survivor of a patrol that had numbered 60 warriors. His armor showed melting damage. His weapon was absent. His eyes were vacant. The base commander questioned him about the patrol's fate. The soldier did not respond initially. He simply stood there trembling. When he finally spoke, his voice barely registered above a whisper. They emerged from the darkness. We could not detect them with our sensors. We could not hear their approach. Our shields provided no protection. Our weapons could not track them. They eliminated us individually. Methodically. And the most disturbing aspect. He stopped. His entire body shook. The most disturbing aspect was their emotional state. They displayed no anger. No fear. They were calm. Patient. Like predators tracking prey. As if this was normal behavior for them. The base commander attempted reassurance. You are secure now. The humans cannot reach this position. The soldier laughed, though the sound was wrong somehow. Nowhere is secure. Do you not comprehend yet? On their world, they occupy the apex of the food chain. They have no natural predators. Nothing hunts them. They are the ones who hunt. He looked at the commander with hollow eyes. And now they are hunting us. Commander Thane added a new notation to his report that night. The phrase had never appeared in Krell military history. He wrote, "Extreme caution mandatory. This species does not respond to superior force with submission. They do not break under pressure. They do not surrender when defeat is logical. They adapt to new circumstances. They overcome obstacles through unconventional methods. They continue fighting until they achieve victory or until no humans remain alive. We have committed a serious strategic error. Earth is not a harvest operation. Earth is warfare against an enemy who refuses to accept the concept of defeat." He stared at those words for a long time before transmitting the report. Deep within his mind, he began to fear that even this warning was inadequate to describe what the Krell Empire had encountered on this small blue planet.